Hey everybody, welcome to the Warp. I'm Jack Reader with Future Pastimes, and in this video I'm taking a look at Cosmic Odyssey now that it's been out for 2 years, to kind of go over how it has been received and to refresh everybody, especially for those who don't have it, as to what is in it. So Cosmic Odyssey, as you can see here from this is a tabletop simulator mod for Cosmic Encounter. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seventh expansion, and it's a much bigger expansion compared to the other ones. This box almost as big as the base game box. And that is because I've always said that Cosmic Odyssey is basically like three expansions in one. So let's start off by taking a look at the different parts of what makes this count as three expansions. So I'm going to start with, as you can see here at the bottom, it says campaign expansion. And a campaign is definitely a major part of it, but doesn't even really comprise a full third of what is in that box, although there is quite a bit. So as part of the campaign, what you're getting is a lot of these cards. So there are age cards. So these are used to give you a selection method for aliens. So not just the normal, the standard way you do it. You deal out two flares to everybody, and they choose one to have the corresponding alien for, and the other one gets shuffled into the cosmic deck. But there are now a number of new ways to select aliens. The H cards also let you know what variant you're going to be having. So this one is adding in a variant called Evolution. And then the last thing that it will show you is the scoring method. So this is going to alter, it's going to be different for each age. So here you can see that foreign colonies are worth 3 points each. Home colonies are worth 1 point. Here, this one is using Lux, and the most Lux is going to get 6 points there. And as you can see, different alien selections. So there's a bunch of these cards. And I actually use these in just normal games of Cosmic just to get a way to select aliens and decide which of the variants we're going to use in a particular game. But this is important for the campaign because you're going to end up seeing, and there's some special ones there, you're going to end up seeing 4 of these in a campaign. So the campaign's 4 games long. So you will have technology, reward deck with ultra rewards, hazard deck, team cosmic. And actually what will happen is after a game, someone's going to end up, whoever is leading in the score there is going to end up drawing 2 and choosing which one they want to see in the next age. So a little bit of agency that the players have over there. When you are the winner or the high scorer, and I'll get into how that works in a little bit, you're going to get a MasterCard, which will have been identified for that one. So in the Age of Innovation, you're going to get this MasterCard, which will be used in the final game of the campaign to give you a little bit of an edge. And for whoever comes in last place, you're going to get one of these wrench cards, which is it's not quite a catch-up mechanism, but it's going to give you some information about what will happen in that last game that you may be able to prepare for better than some of the other players. But then we have some other things like these objective cards are used as a way to score points in a different way, and that will be determined by an age card, whether you'll use these objectives. And then the other prizes that other players will get will include things like these privilege cards, which let you do certain things, and you decide if you're going to use those in the next game or save them for a later game. Same thing with these. These are envoys, which I thought was a fun thing, because these are aliens that are from Cosmic Duel, which was the 2-player version of Cosmic Encounter that Fantasy Fight published a couple of years ago. And one of the things that game had was envoys from regular Cosmic Encounter that you could bring in and use some of their aliens, some version of their power to help you out. And so this is kind of the reciprocal of that. You're getting these guys, which they kind of work like it's like having a second alien. And they give you the ability to use that for one game. So all these things are part of the the campaign, as well as this. This is a campaign log. So it's a pad of identical sheets of this where you will put down the names of the players in there, and these are by color. And then you get to name your coalition because it's going to be composed of several different aliens over the course of that campaign. And the coalition members, these where you write down the different aliens. And then the ranking is for each game that you play. And you would name the age. That comes from the age here. So you might be like, yes, our first game was the tenuous age. And it might be of storms, or you might even do a thing here where you say, no, we're doing the tenuous age of incursion. And so you line those up, and this gives you the alien selection method, and this gives you the variant. And the rule book there tells you where to look up more information about that variant. So you'd write that down up on here, and then you would score these, and it's scored with a ranking. So you're going to have points. You're going to say, I scored 24 points, and that was the highest, so I would be ranked number 1. So the way this works is a ranking. You don't have to worry about on my first game, the winner had 24 points. I only had 3 points, and I'm going to have a hard time catching up. And so you don't have to worry about that. You have a reasonably good chance because what you're going to get are goodies, depending on how you rank. So the highest ranked people get the best goodies. The lower ranked ones get the less good. And you use those to help you get a higher rank in the next game, and the next game, and then finally the last game. And there are some variants where you can go longer than just 4 games. It's also totally up to you how you want to do that. So there's a lot of replayability. There's a lot of variety, a lot of interesting elements to make the campaign exciting. And at a standard 4 games, it's not going to wear out its welcome. And I've done a video on how you can, if you're playing this, you're probably not going to do this all in one day, although we tried it. You don't necessarily have to have the same people there, and you could even have, like on game 3, like we started off with 5 people, and somebody else wanted to jump in on game 4, and so, just add them in. Or in game 2, so-and-so couldn't make it. They came back later in game 3. That's fine as well. People can drop in and out if necessary, or other people can take over for them if that's how you want to do it. There's a lot of good stuff. This is a little cheat sheet that tells you prizes for stuff that you're going to be getting, as depending on how you're ranked. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in the campaign, and this was an element where Fantasy Flight contributed a lot of good ideas. So Frank Brooks was the lead developer for Cosmic Odyssey. I designed the expansion and designed the campaign, but he added a lot of value. The ranking system was how he went about it, and some other little bits and bobs in here that, like the wrench cars, that was his idea, and I love this. So that is how that unfolded. Now, with any expansion for Cosmic Encounter, there's going to be aliens, and so here we have 30 aliens divided up by their alerts. So these are all the greens, these are the yellows, these are the reds. And I was particularly keen about the fact that there are more greens, and that was not a trend over the last few expansions. You are getting a lot more yellows and more reds, not as many green. And the chatter online and Board Game Geek and on Reddit and even on some Discord channels was, by the 6th expansion, people were like, well, there's just, you're not going to be able to come up with, they can't come up with more aliens, which is absurd. But the green alert aliens, that's going to be really troublesome and hard to do. So I was like, well, I think we can come up with them. So I'm really happy with this, and it's a mix of, you're going to recognize, if you're a longtime Cosmic Encounter fan, Assessor was an alien back from the Eon days. This one is not exactly the same. It became a Lucre alien, which is the economy variant that was also added back in the Eon days. During the Mayfair days, this was a Lucre alien. But it was nobody's favorite alien in either of those. And this is, I think, a much better version. And there are a few more aliens like this, like Boomerang was a classic alien. And here we've got Negator. Same sort of thing. Witch. These are all aliens that had never been published. But Peter Alaka was quite keen to see some of these aliens finally make their way in. But there's a lot of new aliens as well. This is one that works with a hazard deck, whether you're using hazards normally or not. Extractor is a new alien. Cosmos is a new Essence alien, as you can see from that. And we have a few different Essence aliens with their Essence decks there. And so, yeah, a lot of Green Alert, a lot of really good aliens. They've gotten, I think, a pretty good reception. And so, and we also had the booster, which was an exclusive one to Escape Velocity. But we decided let's get it in there because there were not a lot of people overall compared to the fan base that could make it out to Escape Velocity. So we were happy about that. And so this is, 30 aliens. That's, we got 30 aliens in the last 2 expansions. Cosmic Eons and Cosmic Dominion had 30 aliens. And before that, it was either 20 and, of course, 25 in Storm. But we also had something else in Odyssey, which I was really happy with and has also gotten a pretty good reception. And that is the Alt Timeline alien. So you can see how these look quite a bit different. So we're going to grab Extractor here. This is the sort of standard template for how the alien sheets look, but these Alt Timeline ones very clearly different. And most of them are going to have very familiar names. Certainly not Micron, although kind of familiar, but we've got Zombie, and we've got Void, and we've got Masochist, and Demon, which was also, it started off as a promo alien for Cosmic Con, but then began to show up in the 42nd Anniversary Edition, but also aliens from the other expansions, so Locust and Sadist, Schizoid, Brute, and many more, at least one from every one of the expansions previously published, and a couple from the base game. But these are different versions of those aliens. Now, in some cases, the difference is very subtle, but in other cases, it's quite a bit different, and in most cases, it's much more powerful. And we'll take a look at Locust. So the original Locust, which was an alien in Cosmic Incursion, it still would eat planets. That was part of its deal. But what had to happen was you had to be, as Locust, the only player attacking an alien or attacking a planet. And then if you won and you were alone on the planet in another system, then at the next regroup you would eat that planet. Your ships would go back to colonies, and that would always count as a foreign colony that you could not lose. And this one still does that, but the problem with that was that we used to joke about that Locust, the original Locust, had the power to not have allies, because if you were on the offense, you couldn't invite anybody if you wanted to be able to use your alien power. And the new Locust doesn't have that problem. It's taking a page out of Filth, can bring them in there, and everybody else lands on a different planet of their choice in the targeted system. You land on that one, and you're going to devour that planet. So much more likely to happen. And as a result, this is a better version of that. Better version of the alternate win alien, Sadist. Same sort of thing. It's winning if a number of people have ships in the warp, but it was much harder to do as the original Sadist, and this one's much easier, and it's got a little extra thing it can do. It's got a use here to help it move it along. And so that is what we tried to do with these alternate timeline aliens. And so there's 12 of those. And we ended up replacing 4 in each alert level. Although one of them ended up changing its alert level upon publication. But nevertheless, it is it's a way to kind of correct some mistakes or liven things up. The Masochist had some holes in it that people didn't want to abuse. Brute was much too powerful. Grumpus was much too weak. So we made this one a lot more palatable and this one much more powerful. And so I'm really happy with how that turned out. I'm super glad that Fantasy Flight thought the idea was good, because one of the big themes of Cosmic Odyssey is that you are traveling through space and time and alternate dimensions, and so you are encountering these different, the same aliens from a different dimension. So they didn't evolve the same way, a little bit different. So And you know, the idea is that you can just replace the old aliens with these, or you can mix them in if you want, because their flares are different as well. So you will know if you've got the original demon or the alternate timeline demon. And here we have the flares for all the other ones, and you'll notice that with this one, this is one of the aliens. It adds 5 more copies of its own flare, which was an idea that I really wanted to have in the game at some point. So I was able to do it. Inferno, I think, is a really fun alien. I love the. That's not it. Where is it? Here we go. That's. I love the artwork for Inferno. I've done a whole video on that, which you can find here on the channel. So this doesn't necessarily count as its own expansion. It's going to be, you know, count a little bit as part of all 3. As I say, it's a 3-in-1 expansion. But yeah, there's 42 aliens all told in the box, and so that's a nice amount. So let's take a look at what we've got here. So one of the other big things, this would be what I would consider the second expansion worth of material, is we've got we're expanding on the previous variants. So we've got new technology in the game. So technology is part of the base game, but now we have more techs, and I think a lot of people were excited about that. But the other thing that we did with the tech was we didn't just add more tech, we added some new types of tech. And so that's what we're looking at here is we've got mill tech, and that is researched differently than normal tech. It's using attack cards. And then we've got Haz Tech, which uses the hazard warning on your Destiny cards. You don't have to have hazards in the game to use Haz Tech, but they all have an X. So when these are triggered, when you decide to trigger them is when a hazard warning has been drawn in Destiny that round. You can choose to reveal this, and the X is just going to be how many ships you have at that time. It's an effect that gets more powerful the more ships you've had. And here with the Miltech, you're discarding cards. So X equal X. You're just discarding 2 cards from your 2 attack cards of the same value, or any number of cards that their attack strength is 13 or higher. Here is you're looking for 2 cards that have it's like a straight there, a 5 and a 6, or a 9 and a 10. So it's +1. So these are effects that you can research immediately. If you're like, oh, I've got this right now, boom, you can do it. It also means if you're making deals, maybe you're trying to get a hold of a specific attack card or certain attack card values that will make that tech easier to research or more powerful when you do it. So we have more rewards, but like with the tech, we didn't just add more rewards, we added a new type of rewards, and these are the Ultra rewards, which many of them, as you can see from a Rift 9, are much more powerful. Reinforcement +9, another Morph, really powerful Negotiate, a Kicker times X. This is a Sneak Attack, which lets you get 2 colonies, possibly Overkill, which beats everything. Really powerful couple of artifacts. We have new hazards, including a couple of new types of semi-permanent, which are they stick around until another semi-permanent or permanent one is drawn. So there's only ever going to be one of those. Some standard ones, but then we have alt hazards, which is a variant that somebody else developed, and I've done a separate video on these as well. That's true of just about everything. You can get more information about there. So, but it lets you basically skip your encounter and just gain something. And in most cases, if you gain something as the offense, the others are going to gain a slightly less powerful version of whatever it is that you're getting. And then there's just some standard hazards in there as well with some interesting effects. We expanded on space stations by adding 10 more, but we added 2 new types of space stations, so Sky Cities and Deep Space Stations, to make those variants a lot more interesting. So this content here with, a bunch of aliens, 20 aliens, this could have been an expansion all by itself. So I love the idea of expanding. And one of the reasons we did that is so that you can have the campaign. You can do the campaign because you might have an age card that says, yeah, you're using space stations, but you don't have Cosmic Storm. Well, there's enough space stations in the game that you can just use the ones from Cosmic Odyssey. And if you do have Cosmic Storm, everything can be combined. So if you've got the original um, tech, you can combine the new tech. And if you've got the original space stations, you can combine the new ones with it, including the new types. Same thing with hazards. If you've got the old hazard deck, that can be combined with the new hazard deck. So all of those things make that its own expansion. And then we have yet another expansion's worth of material, and that is with the new variants. Now, a couple of these new variants are really very old variants that had never been published. So one of those is Moons. And so the original Eon, there was just basically one type of moon. And in the Mayfair edition, they made 4 types so that they are a little more easy to categorize. But here we've got basically 9 types of moons, and there's at least 8 of each, so that if you're using a particular type, even if you have an 8-player game, everybody could have one of those moons. We've got more of these full moons, but then we also have something called, not cheesy moons, but these are called new moons. And the idea is that there's 20 of them, but their effects, as you can see, this is a cheesy one, that's a cheesy one. This is a full moon, that's a blue moon. So you don't know which type you're going to get with these, which is why they have a question mark. But with these, you know that if this moon is attached to your planet, that it is a blue moon. And they each have a different way that they work, different kinds of effects. And yeah, there's 88 of them. So plenty of variety in here with these moons. Then we have Lux. And Lux was the original Lucre idea, but reimagined, made better. And there's 3 types of Lux cards. And you can just use the Lux market without using any of the other effects. But these are designed to be worked in tandem, so everyone would get 2. So you might get 2 of these. You're going to choose one for its secondary effect, and then if you're like, I'm going to use the Chrono Vizier, this one just flips over. So you're always going to have the Lux Market effect, and this is your little cheat sheet here for how that works, and it's just a fun way. You've got Lux and you've got Ultra Lux, which count as 3, but they could have their own unique effects as well. And so, yeah, it's just a much easier way to do that Lucre idea, but it adds a lot of exciting new effects to the game, and having that economy means that you are able to get really good cards or get your ships out of the warp, and it just adds a lot of extra action to your game. And then finally, a brand new variant called Evolutions, and the way these work is you're going to have 4 of these randomly chosen that will be in the game. And everybody is going to be potentially starting off the game with some amount of handicap. So here, unexpected support is in the game. If you have 0 ships basically researching this or helping you to evolve this effect, you cannot play reinforcements cards. Here you can't have a second encounter. This one is when you gain rewards, you cannot draw from the reward deck, and it will add the reward deck if it was not already being used. This one doesn't have any other handicap, but as you can see, as you begin every regroup, everyone can put a ship by one of these to help evolve whatever that is. And when you hit certain thresholds, so here, if you've got 1 or 2, then you no longer suffer this penalty. There's no other effect. But if you have 3, you're able to do something that normally you don't get to do. Same thing over here. No effect here. As long as you've got 1, you can now start playing reinforcements. But if you have 2 or more, every reinforcement is going to add the number of your ships on this card to that reinforcement, making them much more powerful. And so, yeah, you've got a bunch of these for different ways to affect the game, and it makes your ship resources much more important, because you only ever add 1 ship. Now, if you have like a ship here, instead of adding 1, you can just say, I'm going to move 1 of these over to here because I want to make sure I have a second encounter. But once my turn is over, I might start moving these ships over here since I don't really need them right away. So I really love this as an effect in the game. So yeah, with this could have also been, and in fact, this was going to be the 7th expansion. It was going to be the Lux and Moons expansion. It was going to be these 2 variants plus another 10 to 20 aliens. That was the plan, but Fantasy Flight said, let's go bigger. So, thrill us with a bigger idea. And so I said, sure, I'm your Huckleberry. Let's do it. And the amount of stuff that they let us put in this box is a little bit absurd. So, yeah, there is a lot of content. 3 expansions worth of material. So if we look over here on Board Game Geek, 8.9, that's the current ranking or rating here, which is pretty good. And I think that's pretty fair. There's some things it's not going to be to everyone's taste, although if you're reading some of these comments is pretty amusing. Like a couple of the people who gave it a low rating because there was too much stuff in the box. And now that I don't understand that logic. I think that is a pretty terrible reason to give something a low rating. But if that's the kind of material that brings this down, you can kind of get a sense of what this really would be if people, I think, were giving it a fair shake. But yeah, this is almost a 9, so I think a 9 out of 10. I'm not complaining about that. I think I'm pretty happy. And I got a pretty good track record with expansions anyway. That's always been my jam. I expand all of my games, even the ones I don't design. I love to expand games. I love expansions. I try to get every expansion for every game that I like and play. And Cosmic Encounter is my favorite game, so I've been expanding it for a long time, even before Board Game Geek existed. And so to have my expansions, especially for Cosmic Encounter, highly rated. Like Dominion is still pretty, 8.4. I mean, for a long time, this was one of the highest rated expansions on Board Game Geek. So, and I know that Bill and Jefferson and I were very pleased with that for quite a while. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this, and I think it's a pretty good testimony. 216 rating, so it's not a ton, but it's still pretty good average. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth your while if you've been on the fence or not sure if you should pick this up. There is, I think, literally something for everyone in here, and there's just so much good content. So some people, I think, are originally, when it came out, they were like, oh, it's a campaign. They're like, I don't know if I want to do a campaign. And they're thinking, it's legacy. And to be honest, we started off as designing this to be a legacy-style game. It would have been very different from what we had. But Fantasy Flight, they had run the numbers, and they said, you know what, we're not really in the in the business of stickers and boxes and stuff like that. And I said, I think we can still do a campaign without the classical legacy elements. And so I'm still going to build a legacy style version of Cosmic Encounter for myself and then spring it on my friends at some point. But that's a long-term project, and in the meantime, I'm very satisfied with the campaign. This is great. But a lot of people were like, I don't necessarily want to do a campaign. Well, there's enough in this box to justify its cost, and you're going to get a lot out of it. So let me know in the comments what your thought if you've had a chance, and let me know if you're still on the fence. What do you need us to tell you to jump in and get this expansion? It's great. That's it for this one, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.